Hey guys, today we're going to start looking at something called transformations. And a transformation is just a fancy word for changes in pictures. Okay, so before we actually preview the 4 different types of transformations, I want to point something out to you. If you look in all of these pictures, you'll notice that they each have 2 pictures. One, they're the same letter, like this is A, but this one down here has an A and what looks like an apostrophe. Well, if it's just an A, that's something called the pre-image, or that's our starting image. And then the one, this is called A prime, and that is our image or our copy. So let's go through and identify those again on all of these before we talk about the transformations. So B is going to be our pre-image, that's our starting picture, and B prime is going to be our image. And notice I'm calling that B prime. That's how you say it. So let's look at C. So we have C and C prime. So the picture on the bottom is our pre-image, and the picture on the top, the one that looks like it's turned, is our image. So I want you to be familiar with this language or these words. So again, on the bottom one, bottom right, we have the big one is our pre-image. That's our starting point. And D prime, our copy or our new picture, is called our image. So now let's go back and review the 4 types of changes or transformations. So if you look at the first one at A, you'll notice that one is just slid. It's slid from the top in the first quadrant down to the third quadrant. So in 8th grade, what you used to call a slide, we're going to call a translation. Let's look at B. So if you notice that happy face or the winking face, it's flipped. It looks like it is flipped. So what you used to call a flip, we are now going to call a reflection. So that's the second kind of transformation. Now let's look at C. So if you look at that one, it looks like it's actually turned. So what you guys in elementary school called a turn, in 8th grade, we're going to call it a rotation. And that makes sense because a rotation turns. And then last but not least, what do you notice for D? I notice from D to D prime, it gets smaller. So if something shrinks, it can either shrink or get smaller, or if it grows or gets bigger, that's called a dilation. So again, pre-image is your starting point, image is your copy, and then a slide is a translation, a flip is a reflection, turn is a rotation, and shrink or grow is a dilation. So in this video though, we're going to focus on translations. So we're only going to take a look at slides. So when we talk about translations or slides, what you do is you just follow the directions. So, for example, this one says translation, 4 units right and 4 units down. So to translate or slide this picture, we just count. So let's start at J. So we have J, now we're going to find J prime. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So that is the new position of J prime. Let's do the same thing for I. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and then it said 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So that is now I prime, or the new I. And then let's do A. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is A prime. So when you move 1 point at a time, translate 1 point at a time, you end up translating the whole picture. So now let's take a look at how you'll see this in your work today. But before we do that, I want to remind you of something. Do you see how this says 4 units right and 4 units down? When we talk about points, X goes left or right and Y goes up or down. So I can take that and also write an algebraic rule. So watch this. If it says 4 units to the right, that means x is plus 4, because that means take x and move 4 to the right. So x, y. 4 units down, remember y goes up or down, so y down, remember when we graph points, down is negative, so y minus 4. So we're going to see both of those ways, either with words or we might see the algebraic rule. So now let's look at how you'll do your work today. So that was the first example. We'll call that example 1. Look at example 2. So they tell us that the translation is 5 units to the right and 2 units up. But they ask, what are the coordinates of x prime? So I only have to do that for x. I don't have to do all of them. So here's x. And the rule says go 5 units to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 units up, 1, 2. But remember, to find the coordinates, we start at the origin and read the point. So let's do that now. We're starting fresh. So I go to the right 1, that's positive 1, up 1. So my coordinates for x prime are 1, 1. Let's try another one. So let's look at example 3. In example 3, they're nice. They give us the rule, but I've got to interpret that rule. So remember, for x, to the right is positive, so this means go right 1. And y minus 1, remember y goes up or down, and negative is down, so I go down 1. So I have to interpret my rule. And then, guys, look, it only asks what are the coordinates of d prime. So I don't have to mess with any of those points except for d. So I'm going to go to the right 1 and down 1. That's my d prime. Now to find the coordinates, I start fresh. I start at the origin and I go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my x value, and I go up 1, 2, 3. So my coordinates, for d prime is 4, 3. Now look at example 4. Sometimes they don't give you the graph. Sometimes they give you the points and they give you the rule. So here it says the translation is x minus 2, y minus 4. Well, that's going to work out perfect because I have the points already. But it says, what are the coordinates for the image vertices? That means I have to do all of them. That's all that means. So let's see how you do it if you have points. Remember, points are x, y. So this is x, y, x, y, x, y. So let's find x prime. Well, the rule says to take x and subtract 2. So negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. And then it says to take y and subtract 4. So 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So x prime is negative 3, negative 3. Let's do the other two. So to find k prime, let's start with x. It said to do x minus 2, so 3 minus 2 is 1. And for y, it said to subtract 4, so 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Now let's do or find the coordinates of t prime. So first let's do x. 3 minus 2 is 1. And y minus 4, so negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. So that's what you do if they give you the points and the rule. Now let's look at number 5. In number 5, let's see everything they give us. Well, they tell us we're going to perform a translation, 3 units to the right, 4 units up, but they only ask for the coordinates of I prime. It says, what will the coordinates of I prime be? So I don't care about any of those others except for I prime. Well, they give me words. So when I have points, I need my rule. So I'm going to write my algebraic rule. 3 units to the right. Remember, x is left or right, and to the right is positive. So x plus 3. 4 units up, well, y is up or down, and up is positive, so y plus 4. Now I can use that to find my coordinates for I prime. So I prime, let's do x, -2 plus 3 is going to give us 1. Now let's find y. -2 plus 4 gives us positive 2. So the coordinates of I prime are 1, 2. And last but not least, sometimes they'll give you both pictures and ask you to find the rule. So here's how we do that. First, we make sure we know which one is the pre-image or the start and which one is the image or the second picture. And I can see that the picture down here, it only has the letters. So that's going to be my start. That's going to be my pre-image. And I notice up here that these letters have that apostrophe or their prime. So that's my second picture. And then you pick a point. It does not matter which one. You pick any of the points and you decide if you go left or right, up or down. So I'm going from B to B prime. Did I go left or right any? No. So I don't even have to write that down in the words. Do I go up or down? Yes, I go up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I move up 4 units. Now let's write that algebraically. So I didn't go left or right any, so I leave x alone. But I went up 4 units, so that's y. Up is plus, and I went up 4. So my rule is x, y plus 4. And let's try one more of those just so you can see how that works. So first, pick a point, any point. I'm going to do A and A prime. Remember, plain old letter is my start. Let's use plain words. Start, and the one with the mark after it is my finish. So that tells me the direction I need to count. So remember, left or right first. To go from A to A prime, I go right 1. So I'm going to go right 1 unit. And do I go up or down? Yes, I do. I go down 1, 2, 3 units and down 3 units. Now let's write that algebraically. So I go from, technically you're supposed to write it like this. You go from x, y to, well, I went right 1 unit, so that's x plus 1, and down 3 units, so that's y minus 3. So take your time, use your notes on your practice if you need to. I'll talk to you soon.